Okay, happy Friday. Let's go. We got a video for a set called the Simgot ET142, I believe is the full name. I took a look on Linsole, and I don't see it listed, though I received it from them. It's not in the Simgot area, so I don't know what the price is. If you are subscribed to this channel, the EPZ530 green version, I've already recorded a video for it. That's why it's on the table, but I haven't uploaded it yet, is going to go to somebody in the comments below this video. So if you're a subscriber here and also on the unboxing channel, and if you haven't already, you can go comment under the video that I did for the unbox, which was months ago. I might put up a screenshot of that. Very good set. Contains all branded Sonian drivers. All of the drivers are Sonian, which is not really common. I think it sounds really good. I like its presentation. I like the cable. Very nice set. Like it. If you were to score it, you would be scoring a very, very nice set. And I'm going to talk about branded drivers and the phenom this past year of companies starting to do a lot of custom BA stuff. And you can talk about, there's a whole big topic right there, but essentially they're taking drivers that could be in $20, $30, $40, $50 sets and putting it $200 sets with a nice cap and a nice looking cable that's still very budget and selling it to you. So the custom BA thing is, yeah, we're going to talk about that. I think it's a hustle. But let's move along to the Simgot ET142. Planars are like that Hi-Fi Man right in front of me, and also the Mod House, which is a planar. I really love them, especially in headphone version, and in IEM as well. There's differences in how they handle audio. That's pretty clear to me over the past 2.5 years with the planar wars that have come through. As we draw our attention over to the left side here, we're looking at an image of my interpretation of the difference between a single dynamic driver and a planar and what areas they do well and how it should be tuned. The brighter gray area in the red is what I think planar handles well. And what it's visualizing is, I think that you can push up the low end of a planar more without getting the interruption in the mids. And that is, if you see this driver that I'm showing you right here, which is a 8-inch JL Audio subwoofer, it's got a magnet voice coil diaphragm motor structure. And there's good and bad points about this type of design. One of the bad points is if the excursion, the hit is low enough and this has to extend and retract, it can give back the sense of, it's not actually slow, but it might sound slow to your ears. Not only that, but its accuracy with the mid frequencies when it's really elevated can really be diminished. So it's like a mid frequency penalty the more that you up the bass on a low frequency. Remember, I'm talking about a single dynamic driver. There's a limit to how much you can boost this up before you really start to damage vocals to a point where you're just turning it into a bass headset, because it's not really good for much else beyond that, which is a nice niche, but that's a niche. Planars, you can actually, their design is a membrane between magnets on both sides. There's not that throw, they don't bottom out in the same way. You can actually, in my opinion, in that red zone, you can actually up the bass a little bit more on a planar and a little more in the mid bass and still keep essentially pristine mids. So the difference is not that much, but it's particularly right there in the mid bass. I've noticed that a lot. Planars do quite good there. Better than dynamic drivers. They can slam pretty good. Anybody that's got headphones and has done like speaker taps, like directly to a receiver, you can put a lot of power into planars. You can get a lot of bass actually from them. That people don't imagine planars and bass head, but yeah, they actually do that. But you can put more energy there. Now, moving to, I think mids, there's not really a lot of flexibility when we're talking about the fundamentals of music. And you're thinking to yourself, are we going to talk about the Simgot? We're going to, but this is very relevant. Now, we move to the other side of this image, and you notice that the planar has a lower ideal range than the dynamic driver, and that is because, in my experience, the area around 2K to about 6K being elevated over that area that I've got highlighted, which is basically my target and not above it, it starts to bring out audible habits or residue of what a planar does when it has that much input in that range. It starts to have an etch or non-ideal artifacts. It just sounds different than a dynamic driver, which could be elevated a little bit more and not give me any of those things. And it becomes more apparent as we get into past 6K. When you start to up the early and late upper treble a lot with a planar, you start to get it's just really not a listen that I enjoy at all. Whereas a dynamic driver, in comparison, could have some input there in that range that's blue, which looks quite different than the red. And I don't think I would necessarily find that overly stimulating. As long as the harmonics are descending over time, as they should be, and notes and music that are in the 6 to 20 kilohertz region should be decaying away from almost all instruments that are in my library. So them being boosted late would give an unnatural extension to them. So both of these curves are sliding and sloping away. I just think that planars are better when they're tuned lower, which is why I like the Let's Shore S08 and the S15 and stuff like that. Now let me see if I can excuse me. That's just a dope song, isn't it? There we go. That didn't work out too bad. Now this is the Simgot that we've got today, and this is versus my ideal. Remember, this is just a generalized range, but as you can see, this set violates clearly what I'm talking about. The area that goes from fundamentals to harmonics is immediately boosted. It's very abrupt, which the angle of attack, and it's very pronounced. That means that your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth order harmonics are going to be right up there immediately and in your face, and that would impact vocals and really a lot of stuff. It would even cymbals, really everything. That abrupt, that ear gain style with the planar, actually with any kind of driver, as you can see, nothing ideal is in that area. With a planar, it's really bad. And then we get out to the 8K, and actually everything from 5K to about 12 kilohertz is no go for me. This is based on dozens of sets. I'm 30, maybe 50 sets that I've listened to, probably more than that. And I've just come to realize or believe that dynamic drivers, a single one versus a planar single one, they're not, you don't tune them the same way. I would tune a dynamic driver different than I would a planar, because a planar I could give more low end to without worrying about the mids, and I would maybe pay attention more to keeping the upper mid and treble down a little bit. Can you understand? So let me go ahead and talk about music. I think that in the low end, this set, Big Boy Kill Jill, the triple drops, like I'm listening to right now, something like Hey Now from Kendrick Lamar's GNX, or Big Boy Kill Jill, or something like that. I think that this does fine. I'm talking about the Simgot. As we get into the 4 and 5 string bass guitar, the pulls, the plucks, the ringing of the strings, I think that the bass guitar sounds off. It sounds odd. Remember, the bass guitar actually occupies a great amount of the frequency response graph. It's not just a bass instrument. As a matter of fact, there's like 90% of the instrument actually exists outside of the bass range. If we're saying 300 hertz is the bass range, that big boost in the upper mids and then that late one gives an odd ringing. Actually, would be the part that I would talk about. It makes the instrument sound odd. The Bonham kick drum, the emphatic kick drum from Led Zeppelin's 4th album, When the Levee Breaks, Bonham, the power of the kick drum, bass drum sounds fine, but there's a harmonica that comes in on this track, and as soon as that stuff starts to happen, the whole track falls apart and is really not really listenable. As we move into the mids, which for me is essentially vocals, Chris Cornell, Lane Staley, Nina doing the cover of Blondie. This is doing, there's nothing in the low end that's an issue, or even really with the early mids, but once we start to get into the ear gain, which is really vocals, everything is, I don't want to say stupid stuff like running your fingers down a chalkboard, but kind of like that, a very uncomfortable, intense feeling to your ears that you don't want to extend any longer than is necessary. It is not the way that I want to have a planar tune, or any type of a driver, but definitely not a planar. I would like to be lower. I think that it has a very poor replay of vocals. I really don't like the way that it does male vocals, and I think that females are completely whack and out. Can't be done. I don't like it at all. As we move into harmonics of rides, crashes, electric and acoustic guitars, citation going into the classic album by ELO. It's a greatest hits album, which sounds like an album that was mixed during the loudness wars with the expansion of digital and how much data you could put in, but it actually is just an older classic that sounds like everything's mixed really up, like the vocals are forward and the keyboards are very pronounced. That does not play well on this set. Not at all. I saw the graph before I listened. There's a little bit of bias there, but I'm comfortable with saying that album did not sound very good at being replayed by this set by Simgot. So let me summarize. Is it a dumpster fire? Hope it was free. I'm not even going to give it away because I'm going to do the EPZ 530. Coping is working. No, it didn't work. I'm going to say I hope it was free. If you end up with this in your life and you get it, I hope somebody gave it to you. I hope you want it. I think this is not how you tune planars. I think this is very poor execution by a company that does great stuff, and the build quality is good and everything else is fine, but I can't recommend that tuning. And it gave me a chance to show you that I think that a single planar and its ideal tuning for this listener, and a single dynamic and its ideal tuning for this listener, is not the same thing. And the difference is in the planar can get a little more mid-bass before it starts to really blow out the vocals and make them unlistenable because of the way that the diaphragm moves. And also the upper mids and treble can be, I think, a little more up on a dynamic driver than on a planar, because I just get that etch and that uncomfortable sound from a planar when you start to boost what is really harmonics and overtones. So the ideal tuning is different between the two. I had a chance to explain that's what I think and that's my opinion, so this didn't turn out to be a total crap show. But yeah, not a fan of this set, and I think that if you're tuning planars, you're missing the chance at what they're best at. Let me see if that other thing is still up here, and drop that. That's why the S08 and I think the S15 are just better sets. Let me see if I can drop this. And I'm in pause, and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Now I know my ABCs. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. And there's the Let's Sure. I should have put that in my thing. You see the difference between those two? This is the S15 right there. It's got a kind of bulbous mid bass. It's really the same as the ET142. And then you can see the radical difference when you get to the ear gain. And I'm a huge fan of the S15, and I really don't like that. I think the S15 fits right into what I should have put that in there. Sorry. Yeah, don't wreck it. Let you guys go. You have a great weekend. I'll be sending out a couple of the winners items this week. I usually do 2 per weekend. And then somebody is going to eventually get this EPZ 530. Which is an excellent set. And that's it. I'll let you guys go. Have a great weekend, and I'm out.